All right, let's talk about some notes from 2.2b. And what this is referring to just occurs in normal distributions. Well, specifically, we're talking about how to find out a value and change it into a percent, okay? Well, the first thing we want to do is create a graph of a normal distribution curve and make sure that you label the mean and standard deviation of that curve. And I'm going to put our mean right there of our normal deviation, of our value. We then want to figure out what our value is and plug that in there, and then either shade to the right or the left, depending on what they ask us to do. And then we want to make sure we shade, okay? From there, appropriately, okay? Um, let's just say I find this right here, okay, so wherever x is. Now, we also then want to do is, once we have that, we want to use table A, potentially. And if you want to use table A, you have to convert it to a z-score, okay? And so what we're going to do is we're going to create another graph, the same type of thing, except now this value is going to have our z-score we're looking for. We're going to have a 0 here. It's going to be our normal standardized score. It's going to be 0 and 1, all right, because that's going to be our mean and standard deviation of our, all right, standard curve. And if everything's the same, we're going to shade all the same regions, okay, but now we can use table A. Now, when we look at table A, we see that we have our z-scores, all right, and they can be negative, and they're going to be positive, all right, wherever we look at our table. They have our z-scores here, and then they have like the decimals here. So generally, it's going to be like 0.01 or 0.1, all right, or something. Now, the key thing is this, is that the values in the middle, okay, the values in the middle give the percent to the left, or they give the percentile. They give you the percentile. And so whenever you find any of these values, they're always going to be the percent to the left. So it gives portion to the left. I cannot stress this enough. And so right here, that's what we have. Now, if you want to find a value to the right, okay, you're going to have to take that value and then subtract it from portion. So if you want to have a value x which is less than or equal to whatever you're finding, okay, number you have there, okay, you can use table A, okay, that's just going to be the percent to the left. However, if you're looking for a value here of x's which is going to be greater than or equal to whatever their number is, all right, you're going to have to take 1 minus that percent to the left to help you figure that out, okay, help you figure that out. All right, now there's another way you could do this. I'm going to show you. If you go to your calculator, all right, and you have what's called normal CDF, all right, normal CDF. Now, if you go normal CDF on your calculator, what you can do is it'll tell you the lower, all right, you got an upper, then you're going to label your mean, followed by your, sorry about that, mean followed by your standard deviation, all right, followed by your standard deviation, okay, and that is what we have there. So if you went right there, it would just simply be the lower, in this case, okay, would be some sort of a large number. If you wanted to figure out this one, this would just simply be some sort of very large negative numbers. So if you just want to put negative 1,000, so or 100, and your upper would be whatever x is. In this case, you would have your mean, okay, followed by your standard deviation, and then make sure you have normal CDF. Make sure that, once again, you label this by saying this is your lower, this is your upper, this is your mean, this is your standard deviation. Make sure you set those equal or whatever those values are that you are looking for, all right, when you have that. So your lower bound, upper bound, followed by your mean and standard deviation. Now, there are also examples of where you want to take the percent and you want to make it into a value, So what you need to do is you need to find the proportion in the center of the table. So you go to figure out your percent in the table. find the proportion. And so what you have then is you find your proportion, you then match the percent to the z-score. Okay, so you match the percent to your z-score, and then you plug in the number and solve. So you have your z-score, you have your value which you're looking for. This is the value you're looking for. You have your mean already and your standard deviation. And so using that z-score that you found from the proportion you plugged in, remember, find the proportion table A. This is always a percentile, so you may have to convert that. Okay, so you're going to convert that to a percentile. Find that value, and then find the value you're looking for. Now, you can also do this with your calculator, and this is called inverse norm. All right. So if you inverse norm it, okay, on your calculator, what you're going to have then is you're going to have your percentile, all right, that you're looking for. So your percentile, followed by the mean, followed by your standard deviation, all right, and that will give you your value. Now, the thing is that with the mean, make sure you label everything, all right, label, same thing over here, make sure you label all your different values when you're figuring this out, okay? So two different ways of doing finding values to percents and also percents to values, okay? All right, well, I hope this helps you out and give you a little notes on how to use normal distributions to figure out percents and also values. All right, good luck and God bless in the rest of your problems.